Ever wonder how your favorite apps just, well, work? How they manage to deliver that smooth, reliable experience. From the moment you open them right through to doing something complex, like, say, booking a flight or paying a bill. It's definitely not magic. There's this really crucial step in development. Think of it as the ultimate quality checkpoint, making sure everything just clicks together. And today, that's what we're doing a deep dive into, end-to-end testing. Our mission really is to unpack this whole process. It's all about making sure an application works exactly like it should from start to finish, basically mimicking what you, the real user, would actually do. For this journey, we're digging into Chapter 13, end-to-end testing, from a great resource, Ultimate Full Stack Web Development with MEVN by Bhargav Bachina. Just quickly, MEVN stands for MongoDB, Express.js, Vue.js, and Node.js. Pretty powerful stack for full stack development. And this chapter really zeroes in on the key tools, the frameworks that help make this comprehensive E2E testing happen, specifically Test Cafe, Cypress, and Playwright. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how this one approach, this E2E testing, it sort of provides this complete view of a complex application. It ties all the individual pieces together, making sure they don't just work on their own, but, play nicely together, which is absolutely critical for modern software, right? If you want that reliable user experience.
Absolutely. So let's kick things off. For someone who's maybe heard the term but isn't totally clear, what is end-to-end testing? Fundamentally, and how is it different from just testing little bits of code here and there?
Right. So end-to-end or E2E testing, it's basically a methodology. It's about verifying the integrity and the functionality of an entire software application from the very start of a user interaction to the very end. Think of it like a dress rehearsal for a complete user journey. It's not like unit tests, those just look at tiny pieces, like one function. And it's not like integration tests either, which check maybe how two specific parts talk to each other. E2E simulates the whole flow. So, from clicking something on the screen through all the business logic, maybe down in the database, and then all the way back to what the user sees. It's about that complete picture.
Okay, that makes sense. The whole journey. So why is that full journey testing so critical? I mean, it sounds like it could be a lot of work. The payoff must be pretty significant.
Oh, it's huge. Absolutely indispensable, really. The importance, it comes down to the real user. Firstly, it's all about the user experience. E2E tests catch those issues that, they directly impact how a real person uses the app. Things that unit or integration tests might totally miss, but would really annoy a user. Then there's system integration. Modern apps aren't simple anymore. They're often these complex systems with lots of modules, different services, maybe even third-party things plugged in. E2E is really the only way to be sure all those pieces are working together smoothly, like one cohesive unit. And another really big one is data integrity. When you simulate those full user flows, you're making sure data travels correctly through the whole system. From input to storage to being displayed again, you need that integrity. We also use it to check infrastructure and environment stuff, like does the app perform well in a setup that looks like the real production environment across different operating systems, browsers, maybe even devices. And finally, for some industries, think finance or healthcare, there's regulatory and compliance. E2E testing is vital there to validate that critical workflows meet all those strict legal, security, and privacy rules. It's ultimately about competence.
Wow. Okay. So it really is that ultimate quality gatekeeper. But I'm guessing it's not always smooth sailing. What are the kind of big headaches or challenges teams run into when they try to implement E2E testing?
Yeah, you're right to guess that. It definitely has its challenges. Number one is often just the sheer complexity. Setting up tests for these complete scenarios, it can get really intricate, very time consuming, and that complexity can lead to another major pain point, flakiness. This is when tests sometimes pass and sometimes fail, even when nothing in the code actually changed. It's incredibly frustrating. Often comes down to unstable test environments, or maybe the tests themselves aren't designed robustly enough to handle little timing differences. E2E tests are also known for being resource intensive. They often need a lot of computing power, and they can take a significant amount of time to run, especially if you have a large application. And lastly, there's maintenance. Applications evolve, right? Features change, UI gets updated. Keeping those E2E tests in sync with the application can be a real ongoing chore.
That flakiness sounds like a genuine nightmare for developers. So how do teams actually tackle these things? Are there, best practices to make E2E testing more effective, maybe less prone to those headaches?
Oh, absolutely. And the book lays out some really crucial ones. First off, define clear test scenarios. You can't test everything, so you need to identify and prioritize the key user journeys, the ones that are absolutely critical for the app to work. Focus on the high-impact stuff. Then use reliable test data. This is huge for reducing flakiness. You need data that's consistent, isolated, so one test doesn't mess up another, and repeatable. Automate wisely is another key point. Don't just automate everything blindly. Focus your automation efforts on the most stable, high-value scenarios. It's a balance between coverage and maintainability. And a really big one in modern development, integrate E2E tests into your continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline, your CI/CD. This means tests run automatically whenever new code gets checked in. You catch issues super early before they get anywhere near production. And finally, monitor and review. You have to keep an eye on the test results, regularly check them, update tests when the app changes, and definitely get rid of tests that are no longer relevant. It's an ongoing process.
That makes a lot of sense, especially focusing on those critical paths and integrating it into CI/CD. Okay, so we've got the basics down. Now, the book dives into specific tools. It talks about 3 big ones: Test Cafe, Cypress, and Playwright. Let's start with Test Cafe. What's its deal? What makes it stand out?
Right, Test Cafe. It's a Node.js-based framework really geared towards modern web apps. And one of its main selling points is its relatively straightforward setup. Unlike older frameworks that often needed these external browser drivers, like Selenium WebDriver, Test Cafe works directly inside the browser. That direct control can make things simpler and sometimes more stable. Key features. Well, first, as I mentioned, no browser plugins required, less setup hassle. It's great at cross-browser testing, supporting multiple desktop and mobile browsers, and also headless modes. Headless is basically running the browser without a visible UI, much faster for automated tests and CI/CD. It also has its own built-in test runner. You write tests in JavaScript or TypeScript, and it gives you live feedback. A big plus is its automatic waiting. Test Cafe intelligently waits for elements on the page to be ready before interacting with them. This helps eliminate a major source of flakiness, those manual sleep or wait commands. It also provides a rich assertion library tools to actually check if the test outcome is what you expected. And yeah, it's designed for easy CI/CD integration.
Okay, straightforward setup, automatic waiting sounds good. Can you give us a feel for how you'd actually use it? Like the book mentions testing sign in and sign up. How would that work, sort of practically?
Sure. So in a typical project, you'd probably have a dedicated E2E folder for these tests. After installing Test Cafe, you'd write your test files. Let's take signin. A signin.test.js file, for example, would contain instructions for Test Cafe to first navigate to the login page URL. Then find the email field. Type in a test email. Find the password field. Type in the password. Then find the submit button and click it. And the crucial last step is verification. The test would then look for specific elements that should only appear if the login was successful, maybe like a user profile icon or a welcome message. For signup, it's similar, but with a twist. The test navigates to the signup page. It might use a library to generate a random unique email address each time to avoid collisions with existing accounts. Then it fills out the rest of the form, username, password, etc., submits it, and again, verifies success by checking for those profile elements. You'd run these tests with a simple command, maybe telling it Test Cafe Chrome signin.test.js.
Gotcha. Automating those exact user steps and checking the result. Okay, moving on then. The chapter also covers Cypress, another really popular name in E2E testing. What's Cypress's angle? What makes it special, maybe compared to Test Cafe?
Cypress is also a modern, very popular framework. It calls itself an all-in-one testing framework built on Node.js. Its architecture is quite different, though. Cypress runs directly inside the browser in the same event loop as your application. This gives it some unique advantages. For instance, it's not bound by the same origin policy that restricts regular browser scripts, which can make interacting with your application, especially complex ones, feel more direct and potentially less flaky. Key features that people really like. Real-time reloads. When you save a test file, the test runner updates instantly. Super useful during development. It has this amazing time travel feature. It takes snapshots of your application as the test runs, so you can literally hover over commands in the test runner and see exactly what the app looked like at that specific moment. Makes debugging way easier. It offers great debugability using the standard browser developer tools you already know. Like Test Cafe, it has excellent automatic waiting. A really powerful feature is its network traffic control. You can easily stub network requests, basically, fake responses from your backend API, or you can spy on requests to see what your application is actually sending and receiving. Incredibly useful. It aims for consistent results because it runs so closely with your app. And yes, it also supports cross-browser testing on Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and Electron.
That time travel and network control sound particularly powerful. So how does Cypress handle testing something maybe a bit more involved, like the dashboard module mentioned in the book?
Right. For more complex scenarios like a dashboard, Cypress really shows its strengths. After you install it, you typically organize tests in an integration folder. For a dashboard, a very common pattern is using a before each hook. This is code that runs before each test in the file. You'd use it to programmatically log in a test user. This ensures every test starts from a clean, known, authenticated state on the dashboard, much more reliable than manually logging in each time. Then you write your specific tests. One test might just be, verify the tasks table exists. It simply checks if that main dashboard element is visible after login. But for something more interactive, like deleting a task, the book shows a good example. The test would find a delete button for a specific task and click it. But crucially, it might also use cyc.intercept before the click must.cyc.intercept tells Cypress, hey, watch for a network request, specifically a delete request going to the app.tasks endpoint. After clicking the delete confirmation, the test then asserts two things. One, that the task disappeared from the UI, and two, that the intercepted network request completed successfully, probably with a 200 status code. This confirms the action worked both visually and on the back end. You can run Cypress interactively with a nice UI, Cypress Open, or headlessly in CI, Cypress Run.
Okay, that combination of UI interaction and network verification seems incredibly thorough. All right, finally, the chapter introduces Playwright. This one's from Microsoft. What's its unique selling point? What does Playwright bring to the table?
Playwright is another very strong contender in the modern E2E space. Developed by Microsoft, its big focus is on enabling reliable cross-browser automation with a single API. It supports not just Chromium, which powers Chrome and Edge, but also Firefox and WebKit, which powers Safari. So cross-browser testing is a core strength. Write one test, run it reliably across different browser engines. It's known for being quite fast, especially in headless mode, making it great for CI/CD pipelines. Like the others, it features smart auto-wait mechanisms, reducing the need for manual pauses and improving test stability. It also has powerful network interception capabilities similar to Cypress, letting you mock or modify network traffic. One area where Playwright particularly shines is its native mobile emulation. It makes it really easy to test your web application as it would appear on various mobile devices, emulating screen sizes, touch events, geolocation, etc. Very important for responsive design. It provides a very rich set of APIs covering everything from browser contexts to page interactions. It supports parallel test execution out of the box, which can drastically speed up running large test suites. And it has this concept of browser contexts, which are like isolated browser sessions perfect for testing scenarios involving multiple users or clean states. Its emphasis is really on speed, reliability, and that broad cross-browser reach.
Mobile emulation and parallel execution sound like big wins. Can you walk us through that Playwright example for testing a detail page? It sounds like it covers that whole flow again, login, navigate, verify details.
Exactly. It demonstrates automating a full user journey. So after you install Playwright and its browsers, a typical test script for a detail page would start, again, by automating the login. Navigate to the login page, fill in the credentials using Playwright's API, click submit. Once logged in, the script would simulate navigating to the main dashboard. From there, it would find and click on a specific item, say, the first task in a list. This click navigates the application to that task's specific detail page. And here's the core of the test. Once on that detail page, Playwright would then systematically check and assert that all the expected information is present and correct. This means verifying the task ID is right, the description matches, the status is correct, the assigned user, the creator, the creation date. All those specific data points are exactly as they should be for that particular task. It's a very thorough verification step. You'd run these Playwright tests using a command, maybe specifying headed if you want to see the browser UI pop up, or just run them headlessly for speed in your pipeline.
Right, checking not just that the page loads, but that the correct data is loaded. Okay, so we've covered a lot today. Let's try and bring it all together. We went from the fundamentals of E2E testing, what it is, why it's crucial, the challenges, to looking at these three powerful frameworks, Test Cafe, Cypress, and Playwright. What's the big takeaway here?
Well, connecting it back to the big picture, E2E testing is really that final critical layer of validation. It's the closest you get to ensuring your application behaves as expected in the real world for a real user. It confirms you're meeting not just technical requirements, but actual business needs and user expectations. And each of these tools we discussed offers a slightly different flavor, different strengths. Test Cafe may be for its simplicity and direct browser operation. Cypress for its fantastic developer experience, debuggability, and network control. And Playwright for its speed, reliability, and excellent cross-browser and mobile emulation capabilities. Ultimately, using tools like these effectively is indispensable for building software that is reliable, relatively bug-free, and performs the way your users need it to. It builds that essential trust.
And that really is the goal, isn't it? That kind of flawless user experience leading to software that people can actually depend on. The chapter wraps up by mentioning that the next logical step after all this testing is deployment, actually getting the application out there. So as you think about how Test Cafe, Cypress, or Playwright help build that solid foundation, especially for a complex MEVN stack application, here's something to maybe ponder. How exactly does having really robust E2E testing in place streamline that move from development to deployment? How does it help minimize those scary post-launch surprises and build ongoing confidence every time you release? Something to think about until our next deep dive.